Hello everyone, welcome back to another book review. Today I am reviewing the first series in the First Formic War Series, or the first book in the First Formic War Series by Orson Scott Card, and that is Earth Unaware. So it's actually Orson Scott Card and Aaron Johnston, um, Earth Unaware. And I was once told that the reason you can tell, or the way that you can tell if the author is really famous is if his name is bigger than the title, which is definitely true here. So I read Ender's Game back when I was in high school. Um, I liked it. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I also read this book when I was back in high school, but I read this very close to when I went to college, so I didn't have the opportunity to read books 2 and 3 in the series. And I recently wanted to get back into this, and I wanted to read this series because I remember this book being really good. So I went ahead and checked this book out. So I did already read this, um, but I had forgotten most of it because it's been like 6-7 years since I last read it. So yeah, I got this book back out and I read it. I should say, first of all, if you have never read Ender's Game, you can read this book without knowing anything about Ender's Game. There's nothing you're going to be missing. Perhaps if you've read Ender's Game, you can kind of see how some things from this will, in the future, in the distant future, possibly affect some things. But by no means, if you've never read Ender's Game, if you're not familiar with the plot at all, this will not affect your ability to enjoy this series. Um, so this book starts out with a small mining ship. The key players are a small mining ship. They're called free miners. They're not corporations. They're not associated with corporations. They're just a family that is mining in deep space. And we follow a young man. He's in his late teens, is kind of my assumption, named Victor, who is just dealing with some of the rules about living on a ship, some of the difficulties of living in close proximity with the same people on a ship, and just following his life. We also have our second character, who is Lem Jukes. He is a corporate man. He is soulless corporation to the soul. Well, not quite. He belongs to let's call it Soulless Corporation. They're on a scientific mission to kind of figure out a better way to mine, and they're willing to stop anyone who gets in their way, including this free mining family. And we also have an individual by the name of Captain Whit O'Toole, who is part of he's the leader of some, I don't know what they are, a UN paramilitary group, who kind of goes in and tries to save the day. So these are kind of the three groups that we are following. And it starts out with just that the corporations want to mine more efficiently and they're trying to carry out some suspicious tests. The free miners are just trying to make a living. Victor's having his usual youthful angst as he's wondering about his place in the future of the family on this mining ship, and Whit O'Toole is trying to find new recruits. So things start to go awry when the free miners notice that there's something suspicious in their data. They have someone who's watching to make sure that nothing crashes into the ship. They're parsing a lot of data that's coming in, and they say, hey, there's something out there that's moving suspiciously fast. And they don't really understand what it is, and then they realize that it's decelerating, and things in space don't decelerate on their own, which means it's some sort of spacecraft, but it is moving faster than anything they are aware can go, and so now they're concerned. So there's a meeting called, and it's what do we do with this information? And that's kind of where I'm going to leave it because I don't want to give away too much of this book because I think this is such a good read. I really, really like this first book. What do they do with this information? Do we spread panic? Do we tell everybody? Do we a la James Holden, if you are familiar with the Expanse series, you just blast the message to the whole world, which I found a lot of parallels between the Expanse and the series. I should say that as well. Do you just blast it to the whole world? Do you specifically let a few people know? And as things progress, things get more and more serious. It's becoming very clear there's a serious, credible threat here. It becomes clear that people are not going to listen. And worst of all, and I think one thing that kind of adds a tone of fear to this whole thing is slowly the people who have this information are becoming increasingly unable to communicate it, and you have this sense of urgency where they have this message that they are trying to warn everyone about, but due to a variety of reasons no one can hear them. It is impossible for them to be heard, and the one person who has the message who's trying to get it out to the world is being ignored. I should stop here and say that there is one person on Earth or on Luna who knows what's going on in this series. And when I read, as this person gets to Luna and starts to is on Luna and trying to talk about what's happening, I realized this is exactly what would happen if there really was a credible threat. I think it was a very accurate depiction where someone has all this information and he is immediately tied up in bureaucracy. Hey, where's your paperwork? Hey, you're in the wrong warehouse. Hey, what are you doing here? Well, here's your caseworker. Hey, and as the reader, you're desperate for anyone to notice this as a credible threat and take serious action against it because you know what these people are capable of doing. And if you've read Ender's Game, then you kind of really know what's capable of happening. But even if you've just read this, you see the horror that these people are unable to inflict. You kind of get some unsettling information about the people who are in this spacecraft, kind of how they operate in a very non-human-like manner, and you are just desperate for someone or anyone besides these few people who are aware to understand. At one point there is a ship that is just continually trying to blast out this information, but due to some complications, no one can hear them. It is impossible for their message to get out, and that that just adds to the urgency of the whole situation. And this book definitely left off at a point where you realize so at the end of this book, Earth is still unaware. We'll just put it that. But you have a lot of urgency. There's a lot of buildup and a lot of urgency in this that you've developed. And yeah, overall, I found this to be a 5-star read. I love this. Couple talking points, I guess. Ben Yahweh, Dr. Ben Yahweh, my favorite character in the entire corporate ship. I really like the way they did the corporate ship. They could have made that a lot more one-dimensional and probably gotten away with it, but I think they did a really good job with diversifying the people who were on the ship. They just did a really good job with that. Next, I think the unsettling atmosphere is very well done. I feel like the reader has a sense of urgency to get this information out, and they can't, and that really adds to the story because you as the reader want someone to listen and someone to know about this, but you can't do anything about it because you're not writing the story. The only part I will say that I did find kind of, if there's anything that detracted from that 5-star review, it would be this point that I labeled here at the end, where near the end, or probably 3/4 of the way to the end of the book, people are noticing there's just weird anomalies happening in space. This is Earth and Luna. They're not really sure what's going on. And people are making the rounds and talking about it on TV, and Captain Whit O'Toole, who's this paramilitary group, the captain of this paramilitary group, is watching some videos online, and he goes down the conspiracy theory route. Oh, what if it's aliens? And he's like, yeah, what if it's aliens? And that just seemed very, very uncharacteristic to me, because he's like, what if, how would we prepare for aliens? Okay, maybe it's aliens. He doesn't go down the route of like, yep, these people are definitely correct, but he's like, we should probably prepare for aliens. And I don't know why, it felt a little out of character. The longer I've sat with this, the more okay I felt with it, but it felt a little out of character for him to have this weird anomaly happening in space and then see some nut jobs on the internet who are like, it's the aliens, it's a government cover-up, and then be like, yeah, I better talk to my men about this and show them the videos. It was a little too convenient, and I think if the authors had left this part out, things would have been fine. I don't know what happens in book 2, but I think the way they set up this paramilitary group, we didn't need to have that scene. However, I find it more believable the longer I've sat on it. That would just be the only thing that I've taken away from this. From this scene is that maybe it wasn't necessary, maybe it was a little like too on the nose, a little too direct about what's going to happen. We as the reader know what's going to happen, or we have an idea of what's going to happen, but I don't think this was necessary. That would be the only thing that would detract from that 5-star review. Otherwise, I thought the atmosphere was great. I thought the setting was great. I thought the prose was great. I think the characters are great. I love the way everything has been set up. And yeah, a final note, if you are readers of the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey, which I have my nightstand over here, one day I'll read book 5, much to a lot of people's annoyance. I've still not gotten to that. I find a lot of similarities between these two books. We'll see how long those similarities continue. Basically, there's something that is not from this solar system that is in this solar system. They're not a direct one-to-one parallel, but they're pretty close. While I do find, and this is the other thing, I haven't finished either of these series, so this could just be my initial impressions of this, of being halfway through the Expanse series and then just a third of the way through this First Formic War series. Right now, where I stand is I think the Expanse does a better job with the foreign life, the foreign creature, the extraterrestrial, the strange item in it. I think it's a little more creative than what's in here. I don't want to say this is just your run of the mill aliens, because I think there's a lot of creative stuff that they've done with this, and I think as we get further in the series, we're going to know more. But other than that, I like this series better than the Expanse, and that's not to say I don't like the Expanse, because I also like the Expanse. I think the prose and the story's a little better in this one, but I have to say too, this in no way detracts from the Expanse. Perhaps it's just experience. I don't know. I just, so far I've liked this just a fraction of a bit more, but I would say if you have the opportunity to read this and the Expanse kind of in tandem or in parallel and see what you think. I personally am seeing a lot of parallels drawn with that, and I don't think that's bad. I think exploring kind of a similar idea in multiple avenues is really interesting, and maybe you read it and you find the Expanse to be much more well done than this. Either way, let me know what you think. Let me know if you felt the same parallels between the Expanse or the First Formic War series, and if you've completed both series. No spoilers, please. But yeah, just let me know if you think one did it better than the other, or if you think perhaps I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think I'm way off base by drawing a comparison or a parallel between these two, or do you think it's accurate or can be said? So yeah, I will be going back to the library to get book 2 of this series, so I can finally finish the series that I started back in, like, who knows, 2015, 2014. I really enjoyed this. I gave this one a 5-star. This is a very excellent read, and I really recommend reading this series. Again, no need to read Ender's Game. It's set in the same universe, but this is much before Ender's Game happens. And yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you read it. And other than that, I hope everyone has a really great day. And first day of September. Yes, fall's coming, or summer if you're in the other hemisphere. Anyways, everyone, have a great day.